Welcome to my channel, Dark Histories. Following on from the last video about the Great Plague of London in 1665, I will be talking about the Great Fire of London. I will be narrating my videos from now on, as I feel the generic robot voice is poor and you deserve better. So without further ado, I give you London was left reeling from the devastation of the Great Plague, but in 1666 only sporadic cases were being reported. London was looking for a brighter future, but as in the case of the plague, the city street plan, an overcrowded warren of narrow, winding, cobbled alleys would bring about its downfall. It had experienced several major fires before 1666, the most recent in 1632. The firefighting methods of the day consisted of neighbourhood bucket brigades armed with pails of water and primitive hand pumps. Citizens were instructed to check their homes for possible dangers, but there were many instances of carelessness. On the fateful night of Sunday the 2nd of September 1666, in a bakery on Pudding Lane, the shortcomings of London's orientation would be brought to light once more. On the evening of Saturday the 1st of September 1666, when Thomas Fariner, the King's baker, failed to properly extinguish his oven, he went to bed, and sometime around midnight sparks from the smouldering embers ignited firewood laying beside the oven. Before long, his house was in flames. Fariner managed to escape with his family and a servant out of the upstairs window, but a bakery assistant died in the flames as they were too frightened to jump, thus becoming the first victim. The neighbours tried to help douse the fire, and after an hour the parish constables arrived and judged that the adjoining houses had better be demolished to prevent further spread. The householders protested, and Lord Mayor Sir Thomas Bloodworth was summoned to give his permission. Sparks from the Fariner's bakery leapt across the street and set fire to straw and fodder in the stables of the Star Inn. When Bloodworth arrived, the flames were consuming the adjoining houses and creeping towards warehouses and flammable stores on the riverfront. The more experienced firemen were clamouring for demolition, but Bloodworth refused on the grounds that most of the premises were rented and the owners could not be found. Bloodworth is generally thought to have been appointed to the office of Lord Mayor as a yes-man, rather than possessing the capabilities for the job. He panicked when faced with sudden emergencies, and when pressed he made the often quoted remark, "A woman could piss it out," and left. By Sunday morning, the fire had burned down several churches and an estimated 300 houses and had reached the riverfront. The houses on London Bridge were burning. The fire spread quickly in the high winds, and by the mid-morning of Sunday, people abandoned attempts at extinguishing it and fled. The moving human mass, their bundles and carts made the lanes impassable for the firemen and the carriages. The fire was principally expanding north and west by dawn on Monday the 3rd of September. Turbulence of the firestorm pushing the flames both further south and further north than the day before. The spread to the south was mostly halted by the river, but it had torched the houses on London Bridge and was threatening to cross the bridge and endanger the borough of Southwark on the south bank of the river. Southwark was preserved by a pre-existing firebreak on the bridge. This was a long gap between the bridge, which had saved the south side of the Thames in the fire of 1632, and now did so again. The fire spread to the north, reached the financial heart of the city. The houses of the bankers in Lombard Street began to burn on Monday afternoon, prompting a rush to rescue their stacks of gold coins before they melted. Several observers emphasised the despair and helplessness which seems to seize Londoners on the second day. By the 4th of September, Half of London was in flames. The king himself joined the firefighters, passing buckets of water to them in an attempt to quell the flames, but the fire raged on. As a last resort, gunpowder was used to blow up houses that lay in the path of the fire, and so created an even bigger firebreak. But the sound of the explosion started rumours that a French invasion was taking place, and even more panic pursued. As refugees poured out of the city, St. Paul's Cathedral was caught in flames. The acres of lead on the roof melted and poured down onto the streets like a river, and the great cathedral collapsed. The wind dropped severely on Tuesday evening, and the fire breaks created by the garrisons finally began to take effect on Wednesday the 5th of September. There were many sporadic fires still burning themselves out, but the Great Fire was over. The following Sunday, rain fell over the city, extinguishing the fires. However, it took some time until the last traces were put out. Coals were still burning in cellars 2 months later. Only 1/5 of London was left standing. Virtually all civic buildings had been destroyed, as well as 13,000 private dwellings. Hundreds of thousands of people were left homeless. 89 parish churches, the Guildhall, numerous other public buildings, jails, markets and 57 halls were now burnt out shells. The loss of property is estimated at £5 to £7 million. Not for the last time would the nation honour its brave firefighters. But amazingly, only 6 people were killed in the whole of the Great Fire of London. A monument to the Great Fire of London stands at the junction of Monument Street and Fish Street Hill in the City of London. It was built between 1671 and 1677 to commemorate the Great Fire of London and celebrate the rebuilding of the city.